So, friends, we are back, and we have Captain Sachin. And in the part one, we discussed Sachin's initial days, his family, his life in OTA, and he gave valuable tips to our young listeners on how to stay focused to achieve your dreams. This is part two of the same series of interview with Captain Sachin Bali. He is my battalion officer, and I am actually very proud to be talking to. Feel it feels very nice because he is a hero. In this part, we'll discuss how a boy from a college in Delhi joins OTA, like all of us who have been in the army. But what makes Sachin so special that he went beyond the call of duty on a rescue mission, which actually he would have lost his life. And I will start the part of the interview on a very light note. One day we were all on parallel telephones, and I used to take the classes and all. One day Sachin told me, "Sir, guess what I am having?" I said, "यार क्या खा रहा होगा तू? हल्दीराम का समोसा जो हमें मिलता है वो खा रहा होगा?" कहता, "No sir, I am having a Coke and a pizza." And from Chandigarh, Sachin, then lieutenant or captain, I don't know what his rank was then, he had ordered a pizza from McDonald's or someplace and a Coke, which was put in the aircraft. See his management skills. And there was a patrol which was waiting. There was a vehicle which was waiting at the airport. And in the evening at 6 o'clock, when we were talking, Captain Sachin Bali was having a pizza from Chandigarh, which nobody can actually think of when you are on Siachen. You are surviving on the rations that the government has given you. They are very good rations, not to this thing, but see his enterprising spirit. Sachin, ladies and gentlemen, he is pride of my battalion because what he did was very few of people would do in their life. Most of the army officers generally take this kind of risk, but Sachin has lived to tell this story. And a mission which would have led to sure shot death. Sachin said he disobeyed CEO's orders. He said, "No, sir, they are my boys. It is me who will go and look for them." And there was a eventful, I think, 2 days when we thought we had lost Sachin and his patrol. But there came a radio message, साहब बाली साहब का पेट्रोल मिल गया है एंड इतना उन्होंने बड़ा काम कर दिया है. And what Sachin, why I must mention this is, he was the last one to be evacuated. He refused to be evacuated. And I have written stories about Sachin in newspapers and magazines. And that is the spirit. He says, "Sir, my injured boys helicopter was waiting, but this youngster refused to be evacuated." So all those people who tell you these stories, here's a hero talking to you. Why a person will say, "Sir, I don't want to be evacuated"? He knows that it may mean doom for him. Okay, Sachin, I have now got the tempo up. Tell us your tenure with the 12 Marathas and tell us your exploits in Siachen. Don't cover the pizza episode that I've already covered.
So I was commissioned into the 12th Battalion of Maratha Light Infantry, which is the finest battalion of the regiment. And the regiment itself is one of the oldest regiment in the Indian Army. I have had the privilege of serving with 12 Maratha, which has arguably the finest officers, JCOs, NCOs, and the Jawans in the Indian Army, because that this is my experiences. And the tradition has been started. So the unit is was relatively new in the regiment, which regiment, like I said, is one of the oldest. But the tradition of making it one of the best unit, not just in the regiment but in the army, was started by the first CO, continued by the CO under whom I served in the Glacier, and continuing by the present CO as well. I'll start with a funny incident. Actually, what happened once you get commissioned from an academy, you are usually your antennas are up because infantry unit would play something against to pull your leg or to welcome you into the unit. Once I landed at the railway station, I had boys from the unit come to receive me, and within them was my senior subaltern. Senior subaltern is the officer who's senior to you in the unit. So my senior subaltern, he was a young youth from Yamu, like you should tell him. He was very handsome, fair guy with no mustache, and usually Maratha troops are slightly brownish and they would have a mustache. So he was standing there waiting for me without his ranks on, so that he could fool me in welcoming me on to the battalion. But I could see that. I could see his demeanor, how the troops were behaving around him. But I played along for a bit. I let him welcome me, carry my luggage till the truck. but then I couldn't let him do more because I knew he was an officer. I told him that, sir, I know you are one of the officers who's come to pull my leg. And he was a bit surprised. He said, please don't tell the company commander because then he'll have my happiness. So I kept his secret, I think, until now. Now everybody knows. So yes, that was the unit. Which, so I say I did not get commissioned into a unit. I got commissioned into family. Well, still my family. I keep going back to them, speaking on a regular basis. Uh, After I was commissioned to the family, then we went for a UN mission in Africa. And after the UN mission, the battalion was given the responsibility of serving in the glacier. And I was selected to do a course, a high altitude warfare school course, which is a fantastic course, one of the better courses that Indian Army has to offer in terms of skilling you and equipping you how to operate as a soldier or as a small team leader in a glaciated terrain or in mountains. The unit got posted to the glacier, and I was sent to my company post as well. I had around 10 posts under my command, and I was at the company headquarters. Uh, what Sir mentioned about the incident that happened in the glacier, the avalanche rescue mission. In fact, sir, if I may bring your attention to it, today is the day when I was actually waiting for the helicopter to come back and take me back, March 5th in 2003. So it's quite a coincidence that I think it was March 5th.
Only the year is different.
Yes. So 2003 was when it was, and I was actually waiting in the glacier to be evacuated by the brave army aviators. Should I walk you through the mission as well, sir? Should I walk the audience through the mission or any specific you'd like me to?
Yeah, I'll just give them a brief to our listeners. The glacier has this. Actually, it happens every 1 or 2 years when we have bad nights, when there are avalanches, when you will lose your men, when the post will get buried. And one such fateful night in Sachin's area of responsibility, there are other areas where the avalanches came, where 1 or 2 lives were lost, people got stuck. But one of his posts actually got washed away. It was not, it went missing from the face of earth. And young Captain Sachin, he had nobody to actually guide him because communications are all broken. And that is what, when we say we see the OLQs in the SSB, so this is the time I think when all 15 OLQs were required to be displayed. So I hand over to Sachin that he came to know that one post is not traceable. Then what made him take that decision without anybody's clearance and launch a rescue mission, which could spell death? So Sachin, over to you. Tell us more about what happened that night.
So it was, if I'm not wrong, the fateful evening of March 3rd, 2003. I was taking the usual OK report from all my posts. While I was speaking to one of my posts, which was Mangesh, which eventually had come under an avalanche, the line communication went blank. So that's when we realized something was wrong. So we waited for a bit. We tried to get in touch with the other neighboring posts that I had, but nobody was in connection with that post. And that was the evening when it had been for the last few days before that, it's been snowing heavily. There were high risk avalanche warnings as well. And there was a blizzard going on as well. So we could sense there was something wrong, but there wasn't much information with us to take an action on that. So we stayed put at that night, tried to get in touch with the post and posts around that to get some bit of information for us to take an action on. That night was very difficult for me and people on my post. I had doctor as well, me, Colonel Deep Yadav, he's still serving. He was a great force at the post as well. So we all could not sleep that night because we had not heard from that post and we could sense that something wrong has happened with the post. So next day in the morning is when I gathered the troops around. I said, this is the kind of information that we have. We have not been in touch with this post for the last so many hours. We need to go and look for them and see if everything is all right with them. So I checked with all the troops who were in the physical condition and the mental condition to undertake this rescue mission. Doctor volunteered to come with me as well, which is fantastic. So all of us started around 11:30 in the afternoon with basic protective equipment for people just in case if there was something wrong. And on the way, actually, we got a message from the battalion as well that the post there's been an avalanche reported in that area. So our information was confirmed by that information as well, and said this is fantastic. We're anyway on our way to do that. So we started downhill, and like I mentioned, thankfully the weather cleared up during the day. But that walk on a usual clear day would have taken us not more than 2.5 hours, but it took us almost 10 hours, 9.5, 10 hours to reach that post because of the soft snow. The entire it was in a valley which used to be in a U shape, but because of the continuous snow for the past so many days, it almost become V. And when there's soft snow, there is a risk of avalanche. There is a risk of crevasses on the slope that you're walking in. And all along, it was soft snow, waist high and chest high. So walking in soft snow is very difficult because body is already working at 30% of the oxygen that is required. And we moved. Then I decided to move in two groups because the terrain was so difficult and there was high risk of avalanche hitting us as well on the way. How that works is if one group comes under an avalanche, the other one can go immediately rescue them. So that's how what you taught in the training as well, and that's what the right thing to do as well. We started doing that, and within 2 hours in temperature of minus 55, minus 60, body stopped functioning. So within a couple of hours, the hands were frozen, the jaw was frozen, but you knew there's a bigger thing that has to be done. We continued walking, and by the time we could reach that place, it was around 7 or 8 in the evening, and the terrain had totally changed. And how we reached there, it's a long story. In a way, so it's difficult for me to explain it because you have to actually feel it being there, how snow actually hurts and how cold actually freezes because your functions have already, your hand function and your toe function is already stopped, your body is already frozen.
It is. It should. We should mention here that though special clothing is there, but even that special clothing has its got limitation. It is good for some 6 to 7 hours, and after that you have to get back to the next location, find some shelter, take it off because Sachin was out. The temperature must be, I think, more than 20, 25, 30 degrees below the below zero, and it was all anything. Matlab, it can't situation could not have got more worse. It was the worst situation when Sachin and his patrol was out looking for the post that was not traceable. So it's a long story. What we'll do is Sachin actually later on when we had the discussion and with the CEO and other people, and CEO said, "Yeah, he didn't even ask me. I told him to stop." There are other officers who asked Sachin not to go and not to venture out this thing. It may lead to more casualties, but lead to more casualties. But when I met Sachin in the hospital where he was recovering from the injuries, he says, "Sir, that is what I've been trained to do. That is what I've been trained for." And infantry, like we watch so many military movies, army movies, you don't leave your men behind. So this was one such case. The men are in your own area, but they are missing. And here is a young officer who is gone all out just to ensure that can I save one life? Can I find them? So I just want to know and ask you, Sachin, what was your motivation when everything you knew that your fingers are getting numb, that cold injuries are setting in, but you continued? What was the motivation? What made you carry on?
So army for me is like a family. My unit is like a family. So it's like your own family member is in trouble. There's no question of, I mean, there's not even a thought of you having a second thought of going and helping them out. I would rather put myself in their shoes and say if had I been under snow, would I not expect because they would come looking for me come what may. They would My men would risk their life and they continue to do right now as well. But for officers are continuing doing it for the men and men are doing it for the officers as well. They would do the same for me. And as an officer, that is what you train for, to lead from the front, and that is what I wouldn't say supposed to do. That comes naturally to you as an officer. And had I been in their place, till the time I would have been under snow, I would know my men are out there looking for me. So I would be as reassured as I would have wanted them to be that I would come and be there for them.
So we have so many discussions on social media about officer-men relationship. So what Sachin has told us just now, the feeling is mutual. Had what Sachin has said that if he was in this similar situation, his boys would have done the same for him. So it is this camaraderie which makes the armed forces so different from any other organization in the world, not even in the country, not just in the country. A lot of people ask me, sir, what is the most charming thing about the army? So what Sachin has said just now, love of uniform. I'm charmed by the uniform. I'm charmed by it is very very nice feeling to wear that uniform. But what actually means to wear the uniform is the feeling of brotherhood, and it does not have any barriers. It is not that he is a Jawan, he is an officer, we are all same. So a number of discussions keep taking place. People sitting, the armchair, that analysts are there, military specialists are there. They will just hear, read a news and say, ki, okay, yeah, ऐसे करते हैं, army is like this. But what Captain Sachin has just said, that is what makes Indian Army, Indian Armed Forces so special and different from all others. Sachin suffered major injuries. We will not talk about the injuries. It is a very a personal loss for this young man, handsome young man. And what you see, Captain Sachin, you can see a scar on his
Love
nose. Huh? So I have seen his nose this big,
that.
foot injuries and all that when I met him in the hospital in Delhi. That was, he said, sir, it is after recovery of 2 months I have come back to this state. We will not talk about those injuries. Sachin had major personal loss. He lost fingers, quite a few of them, and he recovered. So I just want you to tell them, though we will be writing in the description of the video that Captain Sachin actually had major personal loss, but he didn't give up. Even when I met him in Delhi, he just hugged me. He says, "Sir, I have been wanting to meet you, and I have been wanting to congratulate you on the firing that you were doing and all that." And I said, "Yaar, you are a bloody hero. मैं तो तुमसे मिल रहा हूँ." Me, my wife, my child were there. My classmate and his wife was there. They were so excited. They are going to meet a battle hero, battle casualty. And very few people I have seen in life recovering so well the way Sachin has recovered from whatever setbacks he met. So, what would you like to say to people who tend to give up too early?
So giving up, I think, is the easy part. I would say there's so much to do and see in life. And life is a beautiful thing. I mean, easy thing for you, one is to give up. There might be stages in one's life where a path that you've chosen has ended, but that doesn't mean the other paths are not open. And I keep telling a lot of people when I have similar discussions, there would be over a billion people in this world right now who are willing to take your position in whatever way that you are. So you actually have nothing to crib about. There are around a billion people who will take your position. So one should be grateful for what you have. It's a fantastic life. But only thing stopping one is your own mindset and what you think about it. In my personal case, if you ask me, I just took a minute. Once I saw my injuries after the bandages came off, I cried probably for a few seconds, max for a minute. When I told myself, bro, this is it. That's how you are. This is the new normal for you. You have to love yourself before you expect anybody else to love you. And that is the switch when it happened. And I was totally okay with it after that, because for people who matter, it won't matter to them, and that's what matters to you.
See, such life lesson. I only wish people who listen to Sadhguru and all those people who give a lot of gyan, they are all good people. But here is a military hero talking to you, and he says, you have to love yourself. And there are billion people trying to take your position. So please be grateful and don't give up. He didn't give up. I have seen him, anybody, I have seen very, very healthy, tall, well built young men and women giving up too early in life. And here is a youngster who has almost lost most part of his limbs, and he says, no, I will come back, मैं वापस आऊंगा. And here is Sachin talking to me. We'll take a break here, part 2 of the interview, because I want our viewers and our listeners to actually see all three phases of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, Sachin didn't give up. He was a short service officer. He took a conscious decision. I happened to talk to him, ki, Sachin, why are you quitting? He says, sir, I have given my whatever army wanted me to give. I will not be able to do justice to the profile that I have been interested with so much of limbs lost and all that. I can support the army like he's supporting the organization even now when we have good things to talk about the armed forces. In part 3 of the interview, we are going to see another phase of Sachin's life where he not only recovered from the injuries, he went to IIM. So a lot of people whom I see, they are not even able to clear the basic management exams, very B grade also. He is a soldier who has almost lost his life, and he says, sorry sir, I am not giving up. I will fight. I'll come back and come back a winner. So that is why we are recording Sachin's. I think this is the best series that we'll be doing for our channel. Such a motivating series of talk by with Captain Sachin Bali. We'll take a break here, Sachin, and tell us about your life post that injury. What did you do? How did you recover? And where you are in your life? Because a lot of young people, I see people not clearing the SSB, not able to clear the written exam, getting meeting setbacks in life, and this is a now we'll settle down. I think this is enough. So Sachin in part 3 of the interview, I'm sure will motivate you and will tell you that आपका decision matter करता है, बाकी कोई चीज मैटर नहीं करती. आप बने रहिए हमारे साथ. हम यहाँ पर एक ब्रेक लेते हैं. We'll record the part 3 of the interview very shortly. Be there, Sachin.